This is a wake-up call, and it's time to stop hitting the snooze button. You spent far too long searching for excuses, trying to rationalize behavior that is, at its core, predatory. You might be telling yourself that this person is just difficult, annoying, or full of themselves, but that is a dangerous mistake. When you label their calculated destruction as a mere personality quirk, you are actively handing them the keys to your life, your home, and your sanity. You are inviting them to walk all over the boundaries that keep you safe. Stop the hand-wringing. Stop trying to find the reason behind the madness. It is time to look at the reality in front of you and finally call it exactly what it is. The absolute singular goal of a narcissist is total submission. You are currently trapped in a cycle of overthinking, replaying their words in your head and begging yourself to find a logical explanation for their cruelty. You keep asking, why would they say that? Or why did they do that when I specifically asked them not to? You are looking for a motive that makes sense, like a misunderstanding or a bad day. But you are looking for logic in a place where there is only a hunger for power. The truth is simple and cold. They want you to break. They want you to give up on your boundaries, give up on your dreams, and eventually give up on the belief that you are worthy of anything better than what they give you. Every single interaction you have with them is a tactical strike. They aren't just having a conversation. They are systematically dismantling your identity piece by piece. They chip away at your confidence to make you doubt your own perceptions. They attack your self-esteem, so you start to believe that you are lucky to even have them in your life. This isn't an accident, and it isn't a byproduct of their, quote, trauma. It is a deliberate, consistent effort to crush your will. They do not want a partner who stands beside them, someone who brings their own ideas, values, and strength to the table. They don't want an equal. They want a subject. Someone who exists solely to orbit them, to feed them, and to do exactly what they are told without question. They want you hollowed out so that there is nothing left inside you but the need to please them. Think of narcissistic abuse as a hostile, silent takeover of your entire internal world. This isn't just about arguments or bad moods. It is a full-scale colonization of your mind. Just like a strategist looking to capture a territory, they don't just kick down the door. First, they arrive with gifts. They use intense flattery, manufactured charm, and fake vulnerability to lower your defenses. They pour honey into your ears, telling you exactly what you've been dying to hear, making you feel seen and understood in a way you never have before. They butter you up with such precision that you naturally let your guard down, opening the gates of your personal life to them. You think you've found a soulmate, but in reality, you've just let an architect of chaos into your sanctuary. Once they have gained your trust, the colonization begins in earnest. They start a slow, calculated process of brainwashing that is designed to rewrite your reality. They will intentionally confuse you, gaslight you, and twist facts until the ground beneath your feet feels unstable. They feed you little lies that eventually grow into a tangled web of misinformation. They want to make you doubt your memory, your judgment, and your own intuition. If you try to stand up for your version of the truth, they will use intimidation, cold silence, or explosive anger to silence you. They make it so exhausting to hold on to your own reality that you eventually choose to surrender just for a moment of peace. Their ultimate goal is to make you soft, pliable, and entirely dependent on their perspective. They want to replace your own inner voice with theirs. They want you to wake up in the morning and look to them to define what is true, what is good, and who you are. By the time they are finished, you aren't functioning as an independent person anymore. You are a reflection of their needs and their whims. Your thoughts are no longer yours. They are a collection of the narratives, insecurities, and rules that the narcissist has planted inside you. You become a vessel for their ego, and they will keep you in that state for as long as they can, because a colonized mind is the only way they can guarantee you will never, ever leave. You have to stop viewing their acts of quote-unquote kindness as genuine gestures of love or growth. A narcissist is never truly kind, not for a single second of their existence. When they bring you flowers, offer a compliment, or act in a way that feels caring, it is never because they have suddenly developed a heart or a conscience. It is a cold, calculated transaction. Everything they do is designed to achieve a specific result that benefits them, and they are masters at using quote-unquote generosity as a weapon to keep you trapped. They don't have good days where they decide to be a better person. They only have days where they are either aggressively attacking you or strategically grooming you for the next phase of control. If you are seeing them act generous or loving, you are likely witnessing one of two tactical maneuvers. The first is damage control. Maybe they went too far recently, or they sense you are finally starting to pull away, so they put on a performance to clean up their reputation. They become the person you once thought they were, the one you fell in love with, just long enough to hook you back in and make you believe that change is possible. They are buying your forgiveness with a temporary act of kindness, fully knowing that as soon as your defenses drop, the cycle of mistreatment will restart. They are essentially investing a little bit of fake good to ensure they can keep extracting the bad from you later on. The second maneuver is even more sinister. They are softening you up for the next strike. Think of it like a predator grooming its prey. They need you to be relaxed, open, and vulnerable so they can bypass your instincts. By luring you into a false sense of security, they make it incredibly easy for them to slip back into your life and penetrate your defenses. They want you to believe that the bad times are finally behind you, because when you feel safe, you lower your guard. That is exactly when they go back to the real work, which is the slow, methodical process of destroying your sense of self from the inside out. They need you to let them back into the core of your identity so they can keep dismantling it. The most exhausting part of dealing with this is realizing that they never take a day off. There is no off switch for their predatory nature. Even when they are being nice, they are working. Even when they are sleeping, they are plotting. And even when they seem harmless, they are waiting for the perfect moment to exert power. They don't experience the natural ebb and flow of human relationships where two people grow, learn, and improve together. For them, every single moment is an opportunity to assert dominance or manipulate your perception. Once you accept that their kindness is just another tool in their kit, a tactical lure designed to keep you from escaping, you can finally stop falling for the bait. Stop looking for their heart, because there is nothing there but a constant, relentless drive to keep you under their thumb. You have been brainwashed into believing that judging others is an act of ignorance, and that you are morally obligated to dissect their past, understand their trauma, and excuse their actions through the lens of their difficult childhood. You have been taught that if you just have enough empathy, if you just listen hard enough, and if you just show enough grace, you can somehow fix them, or at the very least, justify why they are hurting you. But here is the brutal truth. That mindset is not a virtue, and it is not a sign of your high emotional intelligence. It is the very cage that is keeping you trapped. That understanding you are so desperately trying to extend is the anchor that is dragging you down to the bottom of the ocean. While the therapeutic world is built on the foundation of not judging, your life is built on the necessity of survival, and you cannot survive a predator if you refuse to identify them as one. You need to stop hiding behind moral relativism, that sloppy, comfortable way of thinking that suggests good and bad are just matters of opinion or cultural perspective. When someone is systematically tearing your life apart, when they are being vindictive, sadistic, and intentionally destructive, you are not dealing with a misunderstood person. You are dealing with evil, period. You do not need a PhD in psychology to label behavior that destroys human dignity as evil. You are fully allowed to call it that, and frankly, you have a duty to yourself to do so. By refusing to call it evil because you are afraid of sounding mean or judgmental, you are voluntarily disabling your most essential survival mechanism, your ability to distinguish a threat from a friend. You are effectively handing a loaded weapon to the person who is trying to shoot you because you don't want to be rude by calling them an attacker. When you refuse to label their behavior for what it truly is, you lose your last and most important line of defense. Morality is not just some dusty concept found in a philosophy textbook. It is the boundary line that keeps you sane. It is the fence around your life. By saying, "This behavior is unacceptable, it is wrong, and it is evil," you are drawing a line in the sand that says, "This does not belong in my world." When you stop worrying about whether you are being too harsh or too judgmental, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of their chaos and start being the architect of your own boundaries. You don't owe it to anyone, no matter how much they have suffered in their past, to stand there and be the target of their sadism. If someone is creating destruction in your life, you are not required to understand it, explain it, or tolerate it. You are required to recognize it as a danger, call it by its name, and remove yourself from its path before there is nothing left of you to save. Right now, you are likely sitting in the wreckage of your own peace, completely exhausted, staring at the ceiling in the middle of the night. You are trapped in that agonizing loop, replaying every argument and every conversation, desperately wondering if you were the one who caused all of this. You are asking yourself, what if I said it differently? Or maybe I am too sensitive? Or was I actually the problem? That constant gnawing confusion is not an accident. It is the software virus they intentionally installed in your mind. Long after they have left the room, long after they have stopped calling, and even after you have blocked their number, that virus is still running in the background of your brain. It is designed to keep you questioning your reality, doubting your worth, and operating against your own best interests, ensuring that even when they aren't there, they are still pulling your strings. It is time to stop questioning your own sanity, because that is exactly what they want you to do. You are not losing your mind, and you are not the villain in this story. You were not fighting a balanced, mature partner. You were being hunted by a fragile, selfish person who needed to feed their own bottomless sense of inadequacy. You were sacrificed on the altar of their ego. Every time they tore you down, belittled your achievements, or made you feel small, it wasn't because you were flawed. It was because they needed to feel like a giant by turning you into an ant. They needed to see you suffer, to see you scramble, and to see you lose your confidence just to feel powerful for a few fleeting, pathetic moments. You were the fuel they burned to keep their own crumbling sense of self-importance alive. You have to reject this poison immediately. You have to understand that your pain was their product. They didn't stumble into hurting you by mistake. They crafted that pain specifically for you because they are fundamentally incapable of feeling whole without breaking someone else. When you realize that you were never dealing with a person capable of real love or real partnership, the guilt you feel starts to evaporate. You were not failing at a relationship. You were surviving a predator. By holding on to the belief that you were the problem, you are keeping their virus active. You are doing their job for them. Stop feeding that machine. Recognize that you are a person who deserves respect, safety, and kindness, things that the person you are grieving never had the capacity to give. It is time to delete that software virus, regain your clarity, and finally stop punishing yourself for the wreckage they created. The hardest truth you will ever have to face is that no one is coming to save you. You might be holding on to a secret hope that someday they will realize the damage they've done, apologize, and finally give you the closure you've been begging for. You might be waiting for the universe, your friends, or even a therapist to step in and fix the mess, to tell the world how much you've suffered and validate the pain that is currently hollowing you out. But that moment is never coming. Waiting for someone else to rescue you is just another way of staying trapped in their orbit. The only person who has the power to reach into that darkness and pull you out is you. You have to stop looking for a savior and realize that you are the one you have been waiting for. It is time to stop being polite about your own destruction. Get angry, not just a little bit, but the kind of righteous, clarifying anger that finally burns away the confusion. You have spent so much time grieving the version of them you thought you knew, but it's time to shift that grief toward the reality of what actually happened. Grieve the time you lost, grieve the parts of yourself they tried to erase, and then use that grief as fuel to move on. Stop analyzing the childhood, stop debating their motives, and stop waiting for the world to confirm that what they did to you was wrong. You do not need a committee of experts or a public confession from them to define your own reality. You have the absolute right to label their behavior as evil, to call it by its true name, and to cut it out of your life with the finality of a surgeon. Your soul is being eroded every single day you stay in this cycle, and it is all happening to feed a monster that is never satisfied. Their ego is a bottomless pit. They don't want your love, they want your submission. And they will keep taking until there is nothing left of you to give. It is time to stop the bleeding. You are currently choosing their comfort over your own survival, and that is a trade-off that is costing you your future. Reclaiming your mind means recognizing that your life belongs to you, not to them. It means deciding that you would rather be alone and free than in a relationship and enslaved. Choose your survival. Choose to be done with the games, done with the excuses, and done with the psychological warfare. When you finally stop looking for them to give you permission to live, you will realize that the prison door was never locked. It was just waiting for you to walk away.